All right, let's continue on. On the occasions when Miss Grant informed Miss McMahon that she was physically injured during their sexual encounter, McMahon responses varied from apologies to non-accountable pushback, blaming impulse control. When encounters were particularly brutal, Miss Janelle learned to book in the truth of her injuries with compliments to create the least amount of pushback from Vince. However, Miss Grant sustained brutal and painful injuries, including bleeding, swelling, bruising, and spans of incontinence, resulting from McMahon's forcible use of his fist, adult toys, and objects unsafe for vaginal insertion or penetration. For instance, on August 28, 2020, Miss Grant texted Vince that she was injured during her latest encounter as a result of McMahon's insistence on penetrating Miss Grant with extra large sex toys, including a vibrating wand that caused her to panic. McMahon ignored Miss Grant's warning that the device was not meant for insertion and forcibly shoved the wand inside her so deep that it became stuck for a period. Ooh! She text she was in pain and bleeding a lot last night and today, and I'm on the floor right now because I can't get comfortable. On August 29, 2020, she texted him an update that she was still really uncomfortable and I got hurt in some way that I'm having trouble describing. McMahon did apologize, saying sometimes I just get carried away. Next chapter, McMahon recruits Laurinaitis into his exploitation of Miss Grant and transfer her into Laurinaitis' department at WWE, trafficking sex acts at the headquarters. During this time, Miss Grant became sick of the stress of the situations that McMahon had subjected her to, that her weight plummeted to just over 100 pounds, which McMahon ignored. One distressed evening occurred on November 21, 2020, when McMahon drove Miss Grant to WWE headquarters to fulfill his fantasies of having a sexual encounter with her in his office, causing Miss Grant to suffer a panic attack in the passenger seat while pleading with McMahon to change his mind and drive her back home. McMahon scoffed and then gave her an ultimatum: either have a sexual encounter in his office or inside the parking lot. Terrified, Miss Grant obeyed McMahon's direction. They entered the headquarters for the encounter. Further, despite Miss Janelle's repeated statements that she did not consent to threesomes with McMahon and physical therapist, McMahon advised her two others and told her that he found another person to join them, John Laurinaitis. In November 2020, McMahon pressed Miss Grant to make explicit photos and send them to Laurinaitis. McMahon orchestrated exchanges by instructing Miss Grant when to create explicit content for Laurinaitis, including what to say, and provided her with notes to adjust her performance. McMahon then facilitated the exchange of explicit content back and forth between Miss Grant and Laurinaitis. Notably, even once phone numbers were exchanged between Grant and Laurinaitis, McMahon insisted that he be privy to any messages that Miss Grant sent Laurinaitis and demanded that she report back all interactions, further illustrating the level of control he held over Miss Grant. On or about December 29, 2020, a threesome was arranged between McMahon, Laurinaitis, and Miss Grant at McMahon's condo. McMahon instructed her to tell Laurinaitis that she was a neighbor and a girlfriend working in the legal field, but not WWE. Shortly after meeting Laurinaitis, Miss Grant asked if she was the first woman whom McMahon had introduced him to in such a setting. Laurinaitis failed to respond and shot a look directly at McMahon, who quickly intervened by kissing Grant and initiating a sexual encounter among the three of them. Once again, Miss Grant asked for protection. Once again, her request was denied after assurance that Laurinaitis was clean. In the days that followed, McMahon texted her that Laurinaitis hugged me like a bear and said thank you to me about 12 times already. In contrast, Laurinaitis messaged Miss Grant, thanks for the fun afternoon. On or around January 25th, 2021, Miss Grant was reassigned to directly support WWE's new hire, a high-ranking employee in the legal department. On February 5th, 2021, McMahon sent Miss Grant to establish a schedule for other men, including the physical therapist and Laurinaitis, could have sex with Miss Grant, which Grant attempted to rebuff. Okay, just to read that a different way. Vince, in February 5th, 2021, sent her a schedule for her to do threesomes like she was a fucking convenience store. She texts Vince, exactly, babe. He's not, this is what he said. This is what this is what she's texting. Exactly, babe. He's not the only one. Blank called me this afternoon begging me to eat you and fuck you with his nice and hard dick. She said, I think, give me another week, baby. I'll be ready. I'm feeling more like myself. It's not great, but it's getting better. Tell him soon. Vince said, I already told him, baby. By the way, Johnny wants Tuesdays, but not this coming one, and the occasional Saturday, but maybe I can shift it to Thursday nights. Johnny would like all of the above. Texts like this of shift schedule caused Grant to suffer breakdowns over how her original hope of a new life had been reduced to objectified and dehumanizing existence with no way out. On or about March 6, 2021, a second threesome with McMahon, Laurinaitis, and Miss Janelle occurred. In March 2021, WWE has still not hired a replacement after WWE Corporate Officer Number 4's termination in 2020. On March 9, 2021, McMahon informed Miss Janelle, still an entry-level coordinator, that top execs in the company knew about their relationship and that her presence in the legal department was effectively delaying the company's efforts to hire a new replacement for this high-ranking official, reinforcing the fact that many within the company were well aware of the circumstances detailed herein. As a result, McMahon stated the plan for her was to change departments, and he verbally directed Ms. Grant be transferred to the Talent Relations Department, reporting to Laurinaitis. On March 10, 2021, Ms. Grant sent McMahon a text message recapping their conversation and expressing shock and a range of concerns, including about Laurinaitis. Essentially, Ms. Janelle expressed a desire to be treated humanely and take it seriously, which she acknowledged could be an uphill battle. Unfortunately, Ms. Janelle transfers to the Talent Relations Department came with an expectation from both McMahon and Laurinaitis that she engage with Laurinaitis sexually, both physically and with explicit content. On March 10, 2021, Corporate Officer Number 2 informed Grant that day that she would officially be moved to Talent Relations and would quickly begin reporting to Laurinaitis, although details about her role, including a title and salary, were still being firmed up. In essence, Ms. Grant again found herself in a completely undefined role, except for the understanding that she remained a sexual slave to be used and trafficked by McMahon within the WWE. On March 12, 2021, McMahon reminded her of the connection between her job and her role as a sexual object. Let's work hard and play hard, too. On March 16, 2021, Ms. Grant was directed to pick up a key to Laurinaitis' hotel room and serve herself to him as breakfast before the start of work. McMahon constantly enforced the expectation that Ms. Grant sexually performed for him and her new boss, Laurinaitis, both in and out of office. McMahon wrote on March 22nd, 2021, "Do you promise to make me proud, baby? Will you show him what a porn star you can be? Will you show off for me like never before? And on days when he's in town, I want him to fuck you every morning and later in the office too." McMahon indicated on April 2nd, 2021 that Ms. Grant should obey if Laurinaitis wanted to bring in yet more men. This is a text from Vince McMahon. Maybe he wants 2 other guys to join you. Holy shit. You've told him you would do anything with him. So if he surprised you with 2 others, you would have no alternative then to take them on. OMG, the stories you could tell me then. It makes me want to come right now. By the way, I just thought of what I think is an excellent idea. Maybe you can hint that if he knows someone who can be discreet, it might be better if you and Johnny try him out first so he can get more comfortable before he's introduced to me. Actually, that makes total sense, doesn't it? In April 2021, Senior Vice President of Human Resources was fired. The same month, McMahon informed Ms. Grant that she would be given the title of Vice President Operations within the talent department. However, days later, McMahon backtracked and said she would be Director of Operations instead to avoid suspicion of a sudden promotion to Vice President. During this conversation, McMahon told Ms. Janelle that he had expressed to other WWE management that he wanted her to reach the level of Vice President and spend a year or two in the position, as she would be able to take the experience anywhere. Ms. Grant left his conversation with Vince hoping that she would escape his situation and her finances and reputation intact. She needed to survive up until that point. In April 2021, meeting between Ms. Grant and corporate officer number 2 acknowledged that the jump initially posed to Vice President was too big and could put a target on Ms. Grant's back. Nevertheless, corporate officer number 2 presented Grant with paperwork detailing a base increase to $200,000. My bad, I'm stuttering. She would go from $75,000 to $200,000 as Director of Operations. As soon as Ms. Grant began working directly for Laurinaitis, forcible touching and overt sexual behaviors became part of daily life when he was in the office. On numerous occasions, Ms. Grant was directed to visit Laurinaitis at his hotel room before work to serve herself to him as breakfast. These devastating experiences made Ms. Grant feel as though she were being pimped out as an object for sexual gratification for her new boss. Upon information and belief, corporate funds from the WWE were used to finance his Laurinaitis hotel stays when these coerced sexual encounters occurred. Per Vince's instructions, Miss Grant reported interactions with Laurinaitis back to McMahon, for whom the story served as a source of arousal. The arrangement with Laurinaitis left Miss Grant miserable and enraged. However, in her years of experience with McMahon, she knew her request would would be ignored at best or used to destroy her career and reputation at worst. Ms. Grant was further feeling isolated by colleagues and surveilled by top-level employees within WWE. Professionally and personally, Ms. Grant's fate was entirely in the hands of McMahon, Laurinaitis, and other WWE's execs who enabled her abuse. On May 24, 2021, McMahon messaged Ms. Grant to remind her that a mistake could destroy her career and that she should pursue verbal communications rather written whenever possible. And here is the text, guys. Those compliments will keep on coming, baby. Just wait and see. I totally understand and agree. Being scared of communications and photos. Johnny gets drunk and sloppy and could easily make a mistake that could cost him his job. And yours too. Verbal communications is the way to go. That said, have you and Johnny talked about breakfast tomorrow? She said, we haven't discussed it at all. It's up in the air. Johnny complained about getting a new phone and it just arrived. I haven't set up a time to coordinate setting it up with IT because I need him to assure me that he's erased everything he's ever saved. I truly regret that he ever got pics. It's not worth the stressing I'm feeling. I'm done with it. Panic that someone else's mistake could cost Miss Grant her livelihood left her feeling helpless and afraid of what would happen if McMahon's mood shifted, leading her to message him expressions of loyalty, love, and submission as a coping mechanism with the hope that he would protect her. On June 14, 2021, Ms. Grant again told McMahon that she did not want to engage in sexual encounters with Laurinaitis, adding, I've left the hotel feeling bad about myself every time. McMahon responded that the one-on-one encounters could cease, but that he expected threesomes with Laurinaitis to continue. New chapter. McMahon and Laurinaitis confirmed Ms. Grant in an office for an abusive sexual assault at headquarters. Confined her. The following morning on June 15th, 2021, at approximately 7:51 a.m., Ms. Grant messaged McMahon that due to her work on an important project, she did not want a threesome that week. as a threesome won't set me up for success. It will knock me out. To avoid pushback from McMahon, Miss Grant offered the following week instead. McMahon and Laurinaitis ignored her plea and brought her into Laurinaitis' office, forcibly touching and undressing her before forcing her to engage in a threesome on a conference table. Miss Grant pleaded, "No, no, no, please stop." McMahon responded with "No means yes." Miss Grant again told them to stop. Instead, McMahon licked his fingers and penetrated Miss Grant and said, "Take it, bitch," with each taking turns restraining her for the other. Laurinaitis then joined by forcibly shoving his tongue, then his penis, into Miss Grant's mouth. On June 23rd, 2021, around 11:42 a.m., McMahon directed Miss Grant in the middle of the workday to meet him on the lower floor. When Miss Grant arrived, McMahon led her inside his private locker room, locked the door, forced himself on her over a massage table. Later that day, $15,000 in gift cards to Bloomingdale's were purchased at McMahon's direction and delivered by McMahon's personal assistant to Miss Grant in her office. On multiple other occasions while Miss Grant worked under Laurinaitis, including after McMahon's promise that one-on-one encounters would end, and even after his wives moved across the country to join Laurinaitis, he would call Grant to his office, lock the door, unzip his pants, and instruct Grant to perform oral sex. Through all this, Miss Grant noticed that the less she sexually engaged with Laurinaitis, the less work she had as Laurinaitis began to belittle Miss Grant in front of colleagues. Fearing for herself and her future, Miss Grant asked Laurinaitis whether he still supported her promotion to vice president. He deflected with an answer about considering all options and changed the topic. The extreme uncertainty and fear for her exacerbated Miss Grant's physical symptoms of illness, including gastrointestinal issues and vomiting, which continued to worsen over the remainder of her time with WWE. All right, I'm going to stop right there, and we're going to continue on because we're going into next chapter. McMahon uses Miss Grant as a sexual pawn to entice world-famous wrestling talent and to keep WWE star under contract with WWE. Uh-oh.